Hello, and welcome to Day by Day True Crime Stories, the podcast where we explore a different crime or justice milestone from this day in history. I'm your host, Kona Gallagher, and today is February 13th, a day that still weighs heavy on the hearts of many. On this day in 2017, two best friends, 13-year-old Abigail Williams and 14-year-old Libby German, set out for a hike on the Monon High Bridge Trail in Delphi, Indiana. What was supposed to be a fun afternoon out in nature, exploring the outdoors, turned into a nightmare that shattered both of their families, their town, and the entire country. Their loss devastated Delphi, a small town where people knew each other by name, and their case captivated the nation, not just because of the horror, but because of the incredible evidence left behind by Libby, who recorded their killer in an act of bravery that would help lead to justice years later. Today, we're remembering Abby and Libby, who they were, what happened that day, and how investigators finally caught their killer after nearly 6 years of searching. Let's get started. Abby and Libby weren't just best friends, they were like sisters. They were both 8th graders at Delphi Community Middle School and were known for their creativity, humor, and kind hearts. They loved art, music, and making silly videos together. Libby had a big personality. She was funny, she was intelligent, and she was protective of the people she loved. Abby was thoughtful, creative, and kind. On February 13th, 2017, their school had a day off, and it was unseasonably warm for an Indiana winter. It was the perfect chance for them to get outside and enjoy the sunshine. Libby's older sister, Kelsey, dropped them off at the Monon High Bridge Trail around 1:35 p.m. This trail was a popular hiking spot near their hometown. Kelsey later told reporters, quote, "They were so excited to go out and enjoy their day," end quote. They planned to walk the trails, take photos, and meet back at the pickup spot by 3. But 3 p.m. came and went, and the girls never showed up. Their family started calling their phones, but there was no answer. Worried, they immediately started searching, walking the trails, calling their names, but there was no sign of either of them. By that evening, police and volunteers joined the search. The community rallied, desperate to find the girls. Then, on February 14th, just a half-mile from the bridge, searchers made a devastating discovery. Abby and Libby's bodies were found near Deer Creek. It was the worst possible outcome, and it shattered the small town of Delphi. But from the start, investigators had one major lead: Libby's cell phone. In an act of unbelievable courage and foresight, Libby had managed to record a video of their killer. The footage captured a man wearing jeans, a blue jacket, and a hoodie, walking toward them on the bridge. The video wasn't super clear, but it did seem as though the man should have been identifiable. But when that didn't immediately happen, investigators also released an audio clip from the video, the man's voice saying just 3 chilling words: "Down the hill." Libby's quick thinking in recording this gave police evidence that they never could have dreamed of having otherwise. Carroll County Sheriff Toby Leesenby later called her, quote, "a hero in every sense of the word," end quote. But even with that key evidence, finding their killer would take years. Despite having this key evidence, the investigation faced a number of challenges. Over the years, investigators followed thousands of tips and released 2 composite sketches of the suspect. The problem was the 2 sketches looked vastly different and led to a lot of confusion and frustration. But law enforcement stressed that they were both part of the ongoing effort to identify the killer. The killer's voice was also released in that video clip I mentioned, but no one stepped forward with an ID. No one apparently recognized the man's voice. They followed lead after lead, but nothing stuck. At a 2019 press conference, Indiana State Police Superintendent Doug Carter told reporters, quote, "We are determined to find the person responsible, no matter how long it takes. This case has haunted all of us," end quote. But it would end up taking nearly 6 years before they finally had their break. In October 2022, there was finally a major break in the case. Authorities arrested 50-year-old Richard Allen and charged him with 2 counts of murder. Allen was a Delphi resident who had lived in the community the entire time. He worked at a local CVS pharmacy. He was someone that people saw at the store and chatted with. He had also even volunteered in the initial search for the girls. So how did they catch him? Investigators revealed that a bullet found near the crime scene was matched to a gun that was owned by Allen. In addition, surveillance footage, witness testimonies, and his own statements placed him on the trail that day. In a police affidavit, Allen admitted to being there, but denied he had anything to do with the murders of Libby and Abby. Still, police believed that they had finally found their man. Richard Allen's trial began in October 2024 and became one of the most closely watched trials in recent history. The prosecution laid out their case, arguing that Allen had lured Abby and Libby off the trail and murdered them near the bridge. Key evidence included the bullet that matched his gun, surveillance footage and witness statements placing him at the scene, and his confessions. Yes, I said confessions, plural. The prosecution revealed that in the 2 years since his arrest, Allen had confessed to the murders over 60 times, both verbally and in writing. Allen's defense team argued that the case against him was circumstantial and did not definitively prove his guilt. They suggested that other potential suspects had not been fully vetted. They also pointed out that Allen suffered from mental illness and had been kept in horrific conditions while in custody, suggesting that his confessions weren't reliable. In their closing arguments, the defense stated, quote, "There are too many unanswered questions in this case," end quote. On November 11th, 2024, after weeks of testimony, the jury found Richard Allen guilty on all counts. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. For Abby and Libby's family, it was a moment of justice, but not closure. Libby's grandfather, Mike Patty, said, quote, "We finally have some answers, but it doesn't bring the girls back. They deserved so much more," end quote. The people of Delphi truly came together in the wake of this tragedy. The Abby and Libby Memorial Park was built in their honor. It's a place where children can play and people can gather, remember the girls, and heal. Libby's split-second decision and ability to record her killer has been hailed as groundbreaking in law enforcement. Her actions showed the world the power of technology in solving crimes and how you may be able to even solve your own crime. Her bravery will never be forgotten. In the years since the tragedy, both Abby and Libby's families have worked to support other victims' families and raise awareness about violent crime. Libby's sister, Kelsey German, has become a prominent advocate for safety and justice. She was just 17 when she dropped Abby and Libby off of that park and had no idea how everyone's lives would change. Since then, she went to college and has received her degree in psychology with minors in forensic science and law and society from Purdue University. She now uses her skills to advocate for other crime victims. Richard Allen is now serving a life sentence for the murders of Abigail Williams and Liberty German. Thank you for joining me for today's episode of Day by Day True Crime Stories. If you found this story compelling, please subscribe and rate us on your favorite podcast platform. And be sure to join me again tomorrow as we explore another significant event in true crime history. In the meantime, stay safe and remember that behind every headline is a life worth remembering. Day by Day True Crime Stories is a Little Monster production.
Hey, you get to